All right. Welcome back to episode 8. This is where we take our staging environment and we push it to main, which will be our sort of production environment that will be holding what everyone sees online. So, throughout this whole series, we've been building Hermes into staging, giving it control as an operator. Now, when we go to main, we're going to try something new, and I'm going to have Atlas basically populate my main VPS to be the same as the staging. So I'm going to give him access, but I'm not going to build an agent on that machine. So I'm going to give him an SSH key, let him go into the machine, populate it with what it needs, make sure everything's set up, and then I'm going to revoke that access. So whenever I'm updating the main and all that, I can just give him access when I need. He sees what's there, populates everything, and then gets removed. Uh, and then we're going to set up, some basic security rules within Cloudflare. Make sure schema transfers from staging to main, get the site up and deployed, test if we're able to access it and see it, and make sure our mini little apps are available, and then we're golden. Then we can just update staging and then push staging to main in GitHub. It activates, we build tool server, all that good stuff, and then our online production is good to go. So let's get into it. Okay, so what I've done here is I've essentially prepared Atlas with what I want to do. I'm saying, hey, today we're creating the tutorial. I'm purchasing the VPS. So what you'll need to do is go into Hostinger, look at, or wherever you're building your VPS, you want to get the same machine, a new machine that has the same settings and all that, so that you can, that will be your main machine. And then you have your other staging machine, and they're basically identical. So everything in the main will match staging except for having Hermes on it. But we will have Hermes from staging get access into our main, populate everything, and then I'm gonna revoke that access. So essentially here, I basically said, hey, we need to be prepared to make settings workers in Cloudflare. So if you look at, let me bring up Cloudflare, my workers. So you'll see we have our build with pixel staging worker. We're going to need an identical worker, but for main. And that's going to tie variables to our supabase project. So we have our main supabase, which doesn't have all the tables that our staging has. So our staging has a bunch of tables that we've created. Now, some of these are some of these are for tools that I made, but when you're building your app, you'll have Hermes build tables based on past episode where you give them access so that it can populate it with information. I built mine up because I've been creating a memory system and all that, but which I don't really need the memory system because Hermes won't be activating that or using that in main, but I will need my tool tables, which I'll show later in the video. But we'll be going over the Cloudflare NAN. Any tools with NAN, we'll need that put into staging. We'll put that to main, and then we'll make sure that that's implemented into our workflows in NAN. And then we'll have to go through and make sure all of our credentials are all good. Then, yeah, GitHub, just making sure that we will push from staging to main, and then all that. So I basically prepped him with all that, and then he came back with questions. So he asked about the domain. I said yes. That we do have a separate supabase project. I'll input the Cloudflare stuff, so I don't want him to have the secret keys for main. So I said that you can set up the worker and all that good stuff, but then I'll input those keys after. And those keys are again within here. All these will have to be mimicked on the main, but then your service role, anything tied with supabase, like service role, your anon key, your URL, it'll have to match your main environment for your main worker because that's where you want it to source from the tables, and all that good stuff. And then all of these are essentially secrets that allow access and are webhooks and stuff, which will match within NAN. These are public ones, so this will need to be changed to main because that's what's building and what's saying, hey, this is main production. These were temp, which don't really need. Um, the debug we'll have to put to false because we don't want any debugging. And then this we'll have to put to buildwithpixel.com because that's what our site URL is. And that's the same for when we go into Supabase in our URL configuration. We'll have to change the site URL and the redirect URLs. And then in the Google console, we'll have to make sure those are set properly too, which we'll get into. So from there, what we're going to do is it's asked me some questions. I'm answering. VPS is running. It was wondering what the VPS is. We need the tool server and the Cloudflare lead agent populated because those are tools that we have. Okay, and then this is empty. Oh yeah, so he said NAN is empty. Go ahead and commit our NAN workflows to the staging environment for that repo. So we have them. Okay, and then it gave me a little game plan overview. So it's going to export the NAN workflows, generate. So we need to generate the SSH keys so that it can have access to the VPS, and then I can have access to. It's going to install Docker, all of our security measures. It's going to go into Cloudflare. We've provisioned a scoped token from an earlier episode, which gives Atlas access to create workers and all that. We'll see how far it gets on that. He may need more scope added, which we'll add after if it's needed. Sync Supabase, so all the migrations and all that, we'll have to propagate those to the main. And then I'll set up the secret files for Supabase and Stripe, which Stripe we haven't gotten into. I can create an episode later about that. Pull NAN workflows from GitHub. Yep. Deploy tool server, Cloudflare, tunnel if needed. Health check, DNS verification. Yeah. Okay. So once you answer the 5 questions, I'll start with phase 0, exploring NAN phase 1. Okay. So I'll go ahead and answer this, and then we'll come back when it comes back and go from there. So within GitHub, you can see I'm in staging, and these are the workflows that I had on the staging environment. Now, some of these I'm not going to need. These were used as reference for our lead agent demo. That is like a sort of a mini app demo within BuildWithPXL. And then this one was a smoke test just to test that Atlas had control of NAN. So we can delete those once we get into that portion, but they're there. And then we can push that to main, and then we'll grab main. And what I'll make sure with Atlas when he gets to it is that the GitHub repos within the main VPS are pulling the main repo, not the staging. Okay, so for active workflows. Okay, so for the SSH key setup, generate locally. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is generate your SSH key. So I'm going to do that on a separate window over here. And go ahead and run that. No passphrase. So I've been building up the starter kit and I want Atlas to give it a go. So it's going to go through and use this starter kit. And this is a product that I'm going to make available on the site. But what we'll need to do is we'll have to do some pushes from staging to main on our GitHub, but it's going to go through and make sure everything is all good on the machine. Secrets you need to replace in production. Okay, all this good stuff, which we'll go through. Yep, tool server one. And then tunnel token, create a new tunnel, and Cloudflare dashboard for prod, copy token, cloud worker, secrets. Okay, so yep, we'll need all the secrets for this. We haven't done Stripe. We'll be doing that later. And then it won't do the bootstrap stuff for, okay. Okay, so I'm going to give it the public key and then my IP. Now, I'm not going to show that in this video, but essentially give them that. It created its own key, which it'll also put in. I need to go into the VPS, which I'll show, and set those keys so that it allows access for both of us. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so I don't want to show real quick because I just put in the IP, but essentially it said it had access. So what you just need to do is, like in the previous episodes, one of the first episodes when we created the VPS, is you have a key, your agent has a key. You need to set those keys within your main VPS so that both you and Atlas can SSH in. Once that's done, ask Atlas, hey, can you connect? Then when it says okay, awesome. What's the game plan? Start moving forward. It's going to test out my bootstraps scripts and all that so that it can get the system up and running quickly. And then we'll see from there, okay, are the repos set? Do we have main set up? All that good stuff. But in the meantime, you could see this is Build with Pixel, the staging version. And what I'm going to be doing with this is essentially showing, hey, agents can create apps for you super quickly, like our leads agent. And I'll create a separate video of this going over these two in particular, and then a bid builder agent where you can speak. And if you're doing a bid, it'll create a base bid and then remake the images uh, with an AI image creator, and you get these really nice pages, and then it'll compile it into a PDF. But that'll come later. I'll show you. But both of these tools were created in literally a couple days using this agent. It's like unbelievable. But then you have those tools on your back end. So then within your tools server, you have a PDF creator. You have, like tools for whatever you want, scraping leads, all this kind of stuff. So you can build up a database of just whatever tools. All right, so it's gone through and it's populated the VPS, which we'll go through in a bit and go through the files and structure and all that, which you could see here. So essentially, it's put in the same matching structure from our main now, or from our staging, but now we need to go in, make sure variables are all good and all that. So you need to go into your secrets and you need to update or ask your agent what you need to update compared to your staging. Some will match, some will have to be tailored to your machine, like we were talking about earlier with supabase, and all NAN, all that good stuff, so that it knows within your main environment. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. So what I want to do now while we're doing variables and it's getting set up, I want to push my stuff from staging to main. So in NAN workflows, I don't think I have any rule sets set up for this just yet. Let's see. So I do have a rule set on main. Now it's good to protect main. And what I usually do is I put required approvals to 1 so that it can't just be pushed without me approving. Now, for this, since I'm going to be pushing or merging real quick, what I'm going to do is just set this to disabled. I'm going to save. I'm going to set in my authentication. 1 second. It's going to be at the bottom. Let that reset. We'll do 5. It's always good to have that. That's just an authenticator I have on my phone to where it will it changes the number every like minute or so that no one can mess with your stuff. It's really good to have. I think it's Google Authenticator. Okay, so now that is main is disabled. So now what I can do is I can do a pull request. So if I go into here, state, and I go to stage, I could do compare and pull request. I want to go from staging to main. First pull request, bringing workflows to main, create pull request. And then what it's going to do is it's going to check. I'm going to merge pull request, confirm merge. And essentially what that's doing is it's taking everything that's been done in staging and pushing it to main. And so everything on our main machine looks at the main branch. So that's why you do all your different like tools and things that you're playing with in staging. You view it from your staging machine and your staging custom domain. And then when you're good with everything, you know that works. That's when you push it to main. So if I go back to here and I go to main, you can see it's populated with everything from staging. So then I can go back to settings, rules, rule sets, main, and I want to activate this. So nothing can be pushed to main. Now there's different ways of doing that security feature. That's just how I do it. Is it the best way? Maybe not, but it keeps it protected and it's worked for me. So what we're going to want to do is go through these. Starter kit is just what I'm building with my agent for everyone that's doing this is an easy starter kit to how you set up this whole infrastructure. App is our actual like website platform. So I'm going to want to push this. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to rules, main. I'm going to deactivate this, save changes, go to pull requests, or I like to, I like to go to here. Oh, it doesn't have the, so I'll just do pull request. And then new pull request. We want to change this from staging to main, create pull request, staging to main. And then down here, you'll see it working. We'll have to double check. Usually there's I think we need to set up the coding agent to where it will check. For now, I'm fine because I want to get all of this stuff hooked up and make sure that it's working and viable. But we'll come back and we'll double check and make sure that we have that coding agent set up. Okay, so then if we go to, there we go. So that's all there. And then what we want to do is, and then this, oh, it's because we don't have our Cloudflare worker set up. So this, we will have to go through it again, but this would, on merging to main, it would activate our Cloudflare deploy, and then that would deploy Cloudflare just like our staging. But that's okay. We filled this because we want our main VPS to have that repo. Okay, and then tool server we're going to need to do. So let's go. Oh, and I need to go back to app and reset that branch protection. Okay, so this one doesn't have a rule set, so we'll do a new branch rule set, and we'll do main, and we'll leave it disabled for now, and we'll include by pattern main branch, and then we'll just add the required pull requests. We'll set this to 1, dismiss, that's fine, and then create. Okay, but it's disabled, so I can go into pull requests, new pull request, staging to main, create pull request. And then what we'll do too, title can't be blank. Staging to main, staging to main. And what we'll do too is the tool server is going to need to be built once it's merged down to our main VPS, but we'll have our Atlas do that. So, okay, so that's all good. So we pull that down. Let's go back to settings, rules, rule sets, and we're going to want to reset this to be active. So active, and then we're going to go back to our main app repo. And we're going to make sure that the rule set is enabled too. So that one's disabled. So we want to active, just so we don't get any unnecessary pushes. Okay, and then we'll have Atlas pull all that stuff down to the main repo. Okay, so now we need to create the worker. So I initially was thinking, oh, we can have Atlas create the worker, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the worker bit, the basics of it, and then I'm going to have Atlas go in, set up to match staging, but then replace all the other the variables, the build, and all that kind of stuff. So what we can do is we're going to go with this. We want app. And then, okay, so I need to copy. So we want the same build, build and commands, but the difference is we're going to point it to main. So if I go to workers, pages, and then I go to my build with Pixel, and I go to settings, I can see what my build is. So right now, build command is this. So I want that. And then deploy command, I want this to say main. So we're going to copy that. And then we're going to change this to main. We don't need builds for non-productions because our other worker is already the non-production. The path is web. And then this stuff we don't need to do. Deploy. Okay, now again, this isn't hooked to our code, so it shouldn't. It may pick it up. I doubt it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Atlas, hey, I have now. I would show you my Atlas web UI, but it's full of stuff right now with IP and all that kind of stuff. But all you got to do is, and I'll start sharing it again once I get out of the phase of variables and all that good stuff. But what you want to do is say, hey, if you've gone the route of having Atlas have access to Cloudflare, you say, hey, I built this worker. This is the main. I want you to match it to staging with build, compatibility, which we probably should do real quick. We'll set that rule. So you want to match to this, which is April 2025. What is that? 401? What's April? January, February, March, April 4. Yeah. 40105. So this one. And then we'll do Node.js compat. Set that up. Okay, and then now I'm going to send it over and see, because remember we did Cloudflare tunnel for I believe NAN and some other stuff. So I want him to mimic what he did with staging, but do it with this. So I'm going to go ahead and type that up again. This is something good that you always want to practice, is have a good prompt and be explicit in what you want him to do. So say, hey, we have our staging worker, go in, match that staging worker to main, make sure that the variables and secrets are all there. Anything that I need to fill out, like supabase, service token, anything like that, I'll go in and change, and then we'll test. But yeah, give it a go. Now, I also want supabase to be migrated. Now, I know what we were saying before, and this goes back to how comfortable you are with variables and secrets. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my agent my service role key for my main production. Now, it's going to populate everything, and I'm going to tell it to be super safe, remove its memories of that key, etc. This should just be used for populating everything. Now, of course, you don't know really if it's going to remove it from its memory. But I've restarted Supabase projects and tables so many times that, like, let's say my key was compromised, I know very quickly what to do to get that stage or get that main production back up. So I'm comfortable giving Atlas uh that kind of control. If you're not comfortable with that, don't do that. Go through the process of actually migrating your schema and all of that. And all you have to do is ask your agent, how do I do this manually? How do I do this through CLI? And it'll give you a step by step. And that's something to always be aware of. Like, use your agent to tell you what to do if you don't know how to do it. I do it all the time. That's how you learn. Like, and it you will make mistakes and then come back, fix it, build up, learn from it, and keep building. You're going to make mistakes. Like, it's bound to happen. So like, let's say my service role got compromised. Somehow it got leaked. I know how to rebuild that database really quickly because I've done it so many times. So I'm comfortable doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it that and have it run its migrations, set up the variables for Cloudflare, set up my variables for um, OpenAI, and then run through it. And essentially, I want to get this main production up just as a replica basically of staging, but tailored to main. And we've already merged our staging to main. So then I'll just need him to pull all that down, rebuild tool server, and rebuild anything else that's needed, maybe NAN and etc. Uh, and then we can test. We'll still have to set up our URL configuration, which we'll do, but this is the part that's like, you know, you can do it manually, but that's the power of agents. And you already have all this stuff built from your staging, so why not have him do the work of building main and replicating it? But again, do what you think is safest for your environment and what you're comfortable with, because you don't ever want to risk something getting exposed. So it really comes down to your knowledge on it and practice, and what you feel like you could rebuild quickly, essentially. Okay, as you can see, now Atlas has gone through, because it has my scoped Cloudflare. it's gone through and it's propagated my secrets. Now there's a couple things it missed. It missed its the build secrets, like our staging. So I'm gonna have to propagate these. I'll just do that myself. And then it missed some of these up here. And then what I'm gonna tell Atlas to do is essentially our GitHub repos. I'm going to make sure that they're set to main. Everything's pulled down. Everything is built. So it's got to build the tool server and everything. And then make sure that supabase has all the migrations from staging. So the schema, all that kind of stuff, the agent is going to tell, I'm going to tell the agent to do all of this. And then from there, we could see if we have anything left. If not, we could see if everything's online and our tools work. If they do, then we can go through security, checking that everything is secure and all good. So yeah, I'm going to fill this out, and then I'm going to tell Atlas to do that. Again, I don't want to show Atlas right now just because it's full of stuff that I've been working on, and there's the IP address and all that good stuff. But this is something that you got to get in tune with, especially with a new way of just like giving the agent the VPS, or I'm sorry, the SSH key to go into your main. You want to tell it, hey, we want to mimic our setup from the staging to main one-to-one, but change out the variables for like your supabase, anything that is distinct for that environment, then have it run it. Then at the end, once I've done all my security checks, I've gone over everything, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to remove or revoke the token from the VPS, the main VPS, so that our agent can't access it. But if I ever need to do updates, then I could just give it the token, tell it to go in there, make the updates, and then remove it. It's pretty sweet. Okay, so now while things are processing, Atlas is doing its thing, we need to set up our redirects. So within Supabase, you want to go to authentication URL configuration, and we need this to be HTTPS your site, buildwithpixel.com. And we're in the main production. Make sure you're in main because we're changing everything in main. Our redirects, and this one. And then for the custom domain, if I remember correctly, that is down here. So we'll add that towards the end, which we don't need to do right now. And then within authentication, if you go to providers, you need to make sure that Google is on. Now, previously, there's an ID and secret that were created. So you need to take this client ID and then make sure you have that secret and put that into Supabase here. So then it knows how to access Google. You got to go into here and authorize JavaScript. We need to add these. Add URL. Take this. Okay, and then authorized redirects. Also, remember put this callback because we're not doing the custom domain yet. Take that one and we're going to put it here. And then we'll change these later once we do the custom domain. Okay, one thing I wanted to show too is right now, if you could see our Wrangler JSON, if you look at in main, if we go to web Wrangler, our Wrangler is looking at staging. So what I have to tell Atlas is, hey, we need a Wrangler that will look at production and will deploy with main. So I'm going to let Atlas know, hey, this is what's coming up. I know we just, okay, so it just did a branch feature for this Wrangler, but I want it to be in staging so then I can merge to main and then it deploy. So I have to make sure that all those connections work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it this, and then I can't show Atlas again because it has some sensitive uh, information. I mean, I can, but it's good to know at this point uh, what you need to be doing in terms of errors and all that good stuff. Is if you have an error, it's connected to both your staging and main right now. So then throw over what that error is, describe what you need. If you don't know what it is, that's fine. Have it explain to you what that is and then how you can mitigate and fix it. But essentially, I'm going to throw this over to Atlas, say, hey, we need to fix this Wrangler issue, push to staging, not a feature branch. Then I'm going to merge to main. Once he's done that, I'll come back up and merge to main, and then we'll see if it deploys, and then we'll check out if all of our connections are good. So while Atlas is working on stuff, what you can do too is set up your NAN exactly how you had it set up for staging from previous episodes. So in the staging one, you know, we for my stuff we have temp workflows, but I do have this lead agent workflow here that just went away. Let me log in real quick. Uh, but what you're going to want to do is you download it and then and these are saved in GitHub, so it is something Atlas can do. You could have Atlas do this, but while it's doing stuff, I'm just going to take care of some stuff. So I'm just going to take this. All you got to do is go up here, move this over, and you hit download. That downloads the JSON file. And then all you got to do is within here, create a new workflow, go into that workflow. Did it log out again? It logged out. But essentially, go into that workflow, import file from URL. Here, let me. I don't want you guys to miss anything, but this is something you've done earlier. You just go create workflow in here, import from file, bring in that file, and then just save and publish. And then essentially you have within your production environment, you have that workflow because that's what your VPS, your main VPS and what your main site is going to run for that NAN automation. So your staging domain will use the one within the staging automation, this one. And this is where you do all your tests and stuff. And then once it's good, then you bring it over to your main. Okay. So what we need to check now is it's changed its Wrangler settings for main. So our deploy, we have staging and then npm. So we need to make sure that our npm run cf deploy main. Okay, cool. So I need to go to here. Let's see if staging, it pushed to staging. Okay, so we have a new staging. Let's just see within here what that Wrangler has in it. Okay, so this has the build with pixel main. It has the staging, which this has, okay, build with pixel staging. Okay, so we're going to pull, or let's check our settings. I may have already activated back our rule set. Yep, it's on. So we're going to disable that. We're going to go back to app or pull requests, staging. We want to go staging to main and added all that. We're going to create pull request, merge pull request, confirm merge. Okay. Then let's see how it automatically activates a build within Cloudflare because that Wrangler is tied to main. It's saying, "Hey, we're going to this worker main. Now we need to deploy." So we'll see if the deploy goes through. If our site comes up, we'll check it out. We'll see that everything works. And then what we may do is do a test of going from staging, pushing the stage, making sure that builds fine, um, doing a pull request of staging to main, making sure that's good. And then we got to test our tools within there. We got to make sure that when a user signs up, they get authenticated, they're added to the waiting list. My couple tools that are in there, I got to make sure that they work for users. Um, and then we should be golden. And then we'll do a little security audit. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Atlas go through and verify our just like front J or our next JS, our front end, no secrets are going through, nothing crazy in terms of like uh or making sure everything's protected auth wise for our routes, all that good stuff. We just want to be fully protected. Okay, so it built. Let's see. BuildWithPXL.com. And would you look at that? Boom. Okay. So we have our site up and running from our staging environment. Now let's try, because we're using our main here. So when waitlist entries, this shouldn't have anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join the waiting list with this account. Let's see if all my redirects work. Okay, it said it added. You go back to landing page, refresh this. Awesome. All right. So our authentication system works. All that good stuff. Now, there's one thing I wanted to check. Well, I mean, we could just try it and see, but I'm pretty sure there was a credential I missed in NAN is an authorization header. But we could see if there's an error, then we can fix it. Okay, so if I go down here and own your own leads agent and that run lead. So okay, so we did get an error. Now our okay, yeah, we're not going to see. Okay, it gets a 502. I'm assuming that's the authorization header. Whoops. I'm trying to copy this, so I'll copy that. I'm gonna go to Atlas. Hey, it built one thing. I tried the leads agent. I got this. Let's make sure that this is published. It is published. Um, dude, I can't select it. Okay, this Atlas. Um, there isn't an authorization credential in NAN. Is that what is causing it? And where can I find that secret? I can add it if that is the problem. Can you check? Okay, so essentially what we're saying is, hey, I noticed there was a missing credential that could be with the cause of this. I'm going to have Atlas check that issue. So one of the things I noticed, and this will be a good test, in I let Atlas know essentially that error we just had with NAN, but also I did a bunch of work the other day on the staging and the bid builder, and I don't see it here. And I'm wondering if Atlas put it to a feature branch and it's not in staging. So what I'm doing is I'm clarifying with Atlas, hey, that feature that we did, um, if it is what it is, clarify with me. We'll pull that staging, we'll push staging, then we'll check staging, make sure everything works there. Then we'll move staging to main, and then we'll see that update on main. And then we'll get clarification from Atlas on what that NAN error may be, and then resolve that. Okay, so I just did a test. Basically came back saying it fixed some, let's see, it wasn't actually the workflow wasn't actually imported into the running NAN instance. Um, it asked me to do a test. So I did test. It actually activates the workflow. Now this is my staging environment, but it's not showing the modal in the front end. So I'm gonna let Atlas know about that, but also the bid builder, there was a feature set that isn't merged with staging. So I wanted to merge with staging, but keep what we did with the Wrangler. Don't want to lose that. So I'm going to have it look at what's going on with the leads agent staging, fix that, and then we'll move to merging our feature branch of the bid builder into main staging, have that all work, then we'll merge that to main and make sure that all works. So this is some of the stuff that you'll have to do throughout this process when you're getting your main machine matching your virtual or your staging machine. Is just getting all those connections set up, and then once everything's set and everything's good, then it's just updating stuff within staging and your front end or workflows, and then just making sure that that workflow variables all go into Cloudflare NAN and push to main, and then you're good to go. So I'll write up a bit about this of what I want Atlas to do, and then we'll come back and see what it gets us. Okay, so it got back to me and it was saying the callback never reached the app. Your front end kept showing still running because it was pulling supabase for a result that was never stored. Is behind Cloudflare access. When NAN tried to post the lead result back to the callback endpoint, it got intercepted with 302. So the result never landed in Supabase. What effects? Added service token policy. Okay. Now accepts the same as the NAN webhook. Updated the NAN workflow to extract the CF access client ID and headers. Okay, cool. Re-imported and activated it. Okay. So we can test that, but let's see what it did about the bid builder. Okay, so then it merged and pushed that to staging and it protected. Okay, so let's see. Um, go there, staging. I'm sure that this just deployed. Okay, yep, 5 minutes ago. All right, let's see. Let's go to staging. I'm just going to do a quick refresh, hard refresh. And then let's go to here. Do Pix World. I'll fast forward this. Okay, so I just refreshed it. It still didn't do anything. Um, so we'll come back to that. We'll see what's causing the problem. Okay, so now we'll leave this one. It updated it, and it looks like this is uh all correct. I'm gonna trust that this is correct. I want to push that to main. I want to figure out this leads agent because I want to show this towards the end of the video. Um, so I need to figure out what's going on with our leads agent. So I see, and it just did a compaction. So let's go ahead and do dash new, etc. Okay, so I'm starting a new. Sometimes when you get into compaction, it can take a while for it to process because it's grabbing all the context, condensing it, sending it on to the next conversation. So I've built this, and I'll go over this later on. I built this nice little memory system here within the staging environment. So I'm using that, and it has a good memory over past conversations. But essentially, I want to start a new conversation, give it a little brief. It'll look at its persistent memory, and then hopefully it can diagnose what's causing this leads agent problem. It may be still that Cloudflare access, but we'll see. But it did do the bid builder. So this is what I was seeing before, and this is a cool little thing. So, but I want to show this towards the end. Okay, so it looks like there's still a Cloudflare access rule that needs to be bypassed. So what I've done is I've told my main Atlas orchestrator to hand that off as a task. Now, this is something I created. It's sort of like the Kanban, which I haven't really gone to in this series, but I've been developing on the side sort of a task um my own custom task assignment uh little process, and it uses my supabase table, and essentially the engineers chat gpt 5.5, and then it frees me with atlas here so that I can create another task and go through that. So while the engineer is running on that, I want Atlas to look over our staging environment and make sure everything is secure, and do one more last pass and let me know if anything is um, needed in terms of front end, back end, all that good stuff. So that when we do our next merge, that includes our bid builder, that we have everything clear. And then when we merge that, we can test leads agent and bid builder, and then I'll set up a task for it to look through Cloudflare and make sure we're set up there and are protected and all that good stuff. So, all right. So basically, like I was just saying, I wanted to do a secure audit of staging. I also, with the leads agent, since I'm showing off these little tools, the leads agent, I want people to be able to use it and then not abuse it, essentially, because it's just showcasing what kind of tools you can get from having an agent like this, what you can build. And for the bid builder, it uses some different APIs and all that. So I don't want people to just be using it every second. So that one they'll get to use once every like 5 days. And if they like it, then that brings them back, and then they can see other tools that I create. And plus I want uh Atlas to do a full security audit on the app and just let me know if there's anything that we should do before going online. All right. So I know that's a lot. I'm going to break this up into two parts because we're running up until an hour. Um, I'm a little further ahead. This is a recording from things I've done, but we've gotten through everything. So I'm towards the end, but I want to release this, and then I'll release the next part tomorrow. Um, but yeah, we're close. And the big thing you got to take away from this is you have to work with your agent. You have to see what it's built, but also like when you're doing your staging, sort of have an understanding of how it's building everything, give it structure and all that. And then when you go to the main VPS, it may make mistakes, just like humans, and you got to test, verify, and then have it double check. And a great thing to do is on a new session is to have it check from a fresh mind, essentially. So it's clean, it can give you a clear overview, and then you can go from there. Because when you build up context and it goes through compaction and all that, it can start to get a little like a little bit of hallucinating. So, but we're there. We got the site, basically built. Uh, and then yeah, I'll release the next part in the next day, and then yeah, we'll keep going and keep building. All right, peace.